Howdy folks, TJ here. Today is going to be Next Learning Day. If you've been watching my channel for a while, every so often I'll launch a game, and it will, I think I could use my normal Kempston-based or Atari, joystick, and I go into the game and nothing moves. And then, or I just see the word Sinclair. Instead of next to joystick, it says Sinclair, not Kempston. And to date, I've a number of times over the couple of years would ask in the Facebook groups or in various places I visit and say, yeah, what's the scoop on this whole Sinclair thing? Because if you know Sinclair, when Amstrad purchased them, they actually continued making Sinclair computers, and on the Model 2 or Plus 2, they had these, they came along with some systems, these joysticks that say Sinclair on them, and they seem like Atari joysticks, but they're not. They're wired a little differently, and they're made specifically for that computer, and it's always been confusing. You've got Kempston, Atari, you've got all these names thrown into the mix, and this video is not about that, because at this point I just want to understand on my Next, when the word Sinclair Joystick pops up, can I use it? Because I know I didn't want to plug a Sinclair-based joystick in here because they're wired a little differently, and I don't want to blow anything up. I don't know if that's the case, if it will happen. Needless to say, the only joysticks I will ever plug in here are Atari-based, but I would like to be able to use it on games that request a Sinclair joystick. So I've asked before, and then people would answer, and I go, okay, that makes sense. But unless I write things down or make a video for my YouTube channel, in fact, one of the reasons I created my YouTube channel and started uploading videos about my computer stuff is because I forget things. And unless I write it down or I have a video to fall back on, like when I'm working on my Volkswagen bus, I'll make a video like, here's what it looks like before. So when I go back to put it back together again, I'll know how to do it. Same thing goes for my computers. I've got a number of ZXs over there, ZX80, Timex TS1000, and the AC adapters all look damn the same, but they're a little different, and I've had to go back and look at videos to say, what power supply do I use for this one? So that's why another reason I make videos. So I'm going to make a video this time so I can start drilling into my head how to do this, and maybe for you folks that haven't done this yet, you'll know how to do it for the time that you experience or need it. So yeah, I want to say I come into a game, and the game was R-Swipe that I recently played that wouldn't work with the regular Kempston-based joystick or Atari joystick in the port 1. And so I moved on to using keyboard. And by the way, R-Swipe, it took me a little time to register, but you've got R-Type. The game was called R-Swipe. And then as you say it, R-Swipe, Arse-Swipe, Arse, and it's a shitty game. It's about crap. So that makes a lot of sense now. Arse swipe. So anyway, we're going to try Arse swipe, and we're going to actually do something here to show you how to make your joystick work. You'll want to have one plugged into, in this case, I'm leaving my 8-bit do plugged into Joyport 1. I've plugged a Epix-based joystick into number 2 because I'd like to play a 2-player game at some point. So I've got my Next running. I'm just going to wake it up. So here's the browser. So say I want to adjust or change how these Joyports work. Go over here on the left-hand side, there's a yellow button that says NMI. I'm not going to take my camera off and show you, but needless to say, on the left of your Next, have you used every button on your Next? I've had my computer for 2 years, and I use the NMI button all the time, but only for like soft boots and stuff. I never use it for other things. There are other things you can do, like take snapshots of a game so you can go back into it and play where you left off. There's all sorts of shit going on here that, unless it comes out and smacks you in the face, you don't use. And that's part of my channel, is to kind of find these things, learn about them, and point them out, so maybe you'll do the same thing at some point. So I've got my Next. I'm going to hit the NMI button, the yellow one. And this pops up. So I could do return back to where I was. I could snapshot, which I've never done the date. I damn need to do it. Screenshot, that's cool. TAP files, no idea, but needless to say, there's something to do with TAP files. Pokes, I've been playing Speccy now for 3+ years. I forget when I started. It was 2017, 18, something like that. I've never done a poke yet to make extra lives or anything like that. I need to do that too. Debug tools, settings. That's where we're going to go. So we're going to go down here and select settings and hit enter. And guess what pops up? Joysticks, general, and sound. Okay, we want to go check out joysticks. Right here, you'll see Joy L, which is the left one. It's not Joy 0. You know, even though these are numbered on here, 1 and 2 on the front of the case, they're calling it on here Joy L, which is left, Joy R, which is right. Kempston 1 is on the left one. Sinclair 1 is on the right one. So I've been set up all this time, de facto standard, to play as long as I plug the damn joystick into port 2. I have never tested a joystick on Joy 2 yet. So at this point it's ready to go, but if I wanted to change it, say it was on Kempston, or I want to change one left one to something else, you just basically select the one that you want. I'm going the joystick right. I'm going to hit enter. You'll see that when I hit enter, it changed to Kempston 2. So if I had it plugged in an Atari-based joystick and I had a 2-player game, I could switch to Kempston 2 and player 1's on the left, player 1's on the right. Does that make sense? It's really easy, folks. But it took me 2 years to finally go in here and say, okay, you're going to do it so you can remember it. Because if I say something, I'll forget it 2 minutes later. That's just the way it is. I've got to document this stuff. So if I want to change it to MD1, now I wrote down someplace what MD1 is, but I don't remember what it is. There's MD1 and MD2. I forget what they are. Is it that it's auto-detecting? I don't remember. MD, medical doctor? I'll go back and check that out at some point, but needless to say, for this exercise, we're not going to do MD1 or MD2. Sinclair 2. So if I wanted to have Sinclair 1 on the left one and 2 on the right one, you could do that. Keep hitting enter. I'm back to Kempton 1, but I want to be, you could do cursor too. You could do the cursor movements on here. Cool. Sinclair 1. We're going to leave it on Sinclair 1. So let's get out of this by hitting break. And I go back to the next screen. Oh, looks like I'm on 28 megahertz settings. I was getting crazy on the arrows. That's how you change the speed. 7, 14, 28. Let's go back to 3. So there's other things on here we'll explore later, general and sound, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and hit break and get out, and I'm going to go return. Let's go load up Arse Swipe and see if this works. Games. It was a 128 cane game, and it was the last game. Yeah, Arse Swipe. 1. Now, if I hit this button, it should detect, right? Look at that. J for joystick. We're going to hit J. And you remember last time when I was using that 1 and 1, it wasn't moving? Holy sheep shit. Look at that. Oh, it's magic. It's like these, and then my button is N magic I. Anyway, so it was that easy. Fracky. You know, hopefully you can remember this now. I'll remember it by watching this video over and over again to drill it into my head. Now, we're not going to stop this video here. We're going to go one step further. Because if you wanted to make it not change it, I think that only changes it for this session, this boot up. If I turn off the computer and restart, I think it's going to go back to what it was before, I think. Well, we can test that. Let's reboot this computer. Let's go hit NMI button. Let's go down to settings and change joystick. Oh, I'm back on 20. Is it always on that? I don't know. Joystick. Let's go down here and change this one to Kempston 2. And then hit break to get out of it. And we'll reboot the computer and see if it stays on that one or if it's on Sinclair 2. Now I'm going to shut off this monitor because the Next does get some back power from the monitor. And sometimes it can not really do a full fresh reboot. So I'm freshly rebooting. And you can hear the little crackles and pops here. We'll turn that off. Actually, I can turn off the sound. I don't have to go do the REG2 thing. So, NMI button. Settings. Joysticks. It actually went back to the original one. So, it was only for that session. I had it on Kempston 2. It's not remembering. So, let's go ahead and turn this off. And I'm going to turn off this monitor again because, like I said, mine back powers a lot. I'm going to hold the space key down while starting up my computer. And look at that. It booted up to something funky and weird, right? I've been in here before, but I only perused. And it's funny because when I was playing with it earlier, I accidentally hit the cursor and I was down here on Soviet timings. And I rebooted the computer and I kept going into that. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So whatever you leave your cursor on and then hit return is how it's going to keep booting. But this allows you to boot as a next standard. All these other options, right? You'll look down here, press E for edit options. E for edit. Look at that. This is where you can adjust the right joystick. So here, if I change it, I believe it retains it for good until you go back in here and change it. So if you wanted to make Kempston 2 the standard, I believe if you change it here and then space to change, it's going to remember it for good. So that's kind of cool. So that's another way, if you think you're always going to want to have this particular Joyport or Joy 1 set up a certain way, you can go in and adjust it in here. Hit the space to change to what you want, hit enter to accept the changes, and then you're going to boot up and you'll be that way for good. So cool. Did you learn something today? I sure did. Will I remember it in 2 minutes? I think I will finally remember it because I've went through this exercise now and it worked and I understand it. So hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned something new today. You may be like me that you just kind of pillage the outside spectrum of the spectrum, but you don't dive in deep enough some days. And there's some other things I've dived in deeper, but on this I haven't. I've always been afraid of, oh, the Sinclair joysticks, do I have to plug one in here? Do I plug a Sinclair joystick in here? No, you don't want to do that. You're going to blow shit up. Some people talk about hot swapping joysticks. Some people say it's fine. Some people say don't do it. I've always been of the nature to not hot swap joysticks. It takes all of 1 extra second to turn off and start it back up. I don't know. I just don't want to blow up my one and only Next. Maybe when I get my Kickstarter 2, I'll be a little bit less cautious and I'll do it. But for now, I'm not. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm going to leave the settings as is. And thanks for watching this hopefully informative video. Bye.